Welcome to Mojo Talks. I'm Eric, and in this edition of Context is King, I'm joined again by Ash. How you doing?
Very good.
So it seems that media companies, they've fallen out of favor with Facebook and Snapchat, although Twitter seems to be back in their good graces. Is this a matter that Snapchat and Facebook are no longer good and Twitter is good? Is that what's going on?
I think this could be called how to alienate and piss off executives at fellow media companies and platform companies. But look, I think the honest answer is a bit of both. Twitter remains a very powerful communication platform. I think its biggest sin or weakness was that Facebook said, should we buy it or should we just copy it and basically bring in that news feed dynamic into Facebook? And then once they successfully did that, almost too well, Twitter lost time, engagement, and ad dollars to Facebook. So I think Wall Street got a bit frustrated with Twitter. And I think a lot of the thought leaders were like, oh, Twitter should do this or that. Whereas I think the users on Twitter have been more or less consistently like, hey, it's a great platform. And it's like, I feel it's the most awesome direct communication tool ever. And that's very powerful. But to the reason why it's a bit of both, look, Snapchat, others have always said this, is it always felt a little bit like a frat house mentality.
Think about its origins, right?
Exactly, think about its origins. So I think when you were dealing with Snapchat, we've said this, and I think they will even almost admit it, they weren't very good at communicating. They kind of just thought, look, we're the cool guy on campus, so we could do whatever we want. And then I think the IPO kind of brought a little bit of that hubris down, and they kind of crashed into reality.
And then Kylie.
But before Kylie, Facebook stole a lot of their thunder, so they kind of have come down to earth, and now we see that they're a bit more humble, and they're at least going in the right direction. Facebook is a whole other beast. Look, I love Facebook. I think it's not as bad and evil as the biggest critics say, and it's not as awesome as the biggest boosters say, but it's a fantastic company and product, and Mark's done wonderful things. But look, let's be honest. Facebook is, what's an analogy I could use? Facebook is like that high maintenance, super hot chick that you go out with once in a while. Meanwhile, it's, she's very inconsistent, she's very flaky, she changes her mind all the time, she sleeps with all these other guys, and you ask her about it and she's like, no, that's not the case. It's just you're kind of like, you're drawn by it, but at the same time, you want to end up in an asylum because of her. Anyway, so that's like the way I look at Facebook, right? It's like you're drawn to it, but it's like, it's better if you kind of ignore it. So the issue though is that I think in the coming down to reality mode that people are now with Facebook, realizing that Facebook is not going to save their business and Facebook doesn't care about their business, Twitter all of a sudden is like that attractive, sweet other girl that you start paying attention to.
There's Veronica. Facebook is Veronica and Twitter is Betty?
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but all to say, Twitter, I feel, is kind of like back into into vogue because it's an awesome communication platform. But then the drawback to that is historically communication platforms don't monetize well.
Why not?
Communication platforms have never monetized well. Hotmail didn't monetize well. Hotmail was acquired for $400 million by Microsoft because it was a viral product that went out and everybody had a Hotmail way back. ICQ, AIM, these things have never, exactly, there you go. These things were kind of viral and they had a large reach, but they never really monetized well. And the reason for that is you don't want to get a message in your email. That's kind of annoying and spooky. Content and monetization through advertising, which is really what supports the internet thus far, and even subscriptions have always been driven by content and communication platforms. You could argue that Twitter can share a link to a content you care about, but basically it's not the best way to monetize through advertising.
So, what explains the resurgence of Twitter? Why is it now working?
Redemption, humility. It's like Twitter is like the guy who is out on parole, the guy who... So many metaphors today. It's, what it is? Twitter reminds me of Michael Phelps after,
After the pot?
After the pot, the apparent, suicide attempts or whatnot. When he came back, once in a while, he was like the cool guy, could do no wrong, didn't return your calls. But then after that, a bit more humility and a bit more like, hey, I'm going to work hard. And I'm not going to ask for special treatment. I'll sleep in the Olympic Village like everybody else. Twitter displays a lot of humility now, and that's great.
Are they going to race sharks then?
Yeah, exactly. in parallel with a lot of CGI. But frankly, analogies aside, I've always liked analogies, by the way, especially sports analogies. But really, if you distilled it to one pragmatic, practical, operational reason, live. I think in as much as Facebook. So Facebook's obsession with live, I think, was smart in that Mark Zuckerberg knew it. He goes, look, when bad shit happens, people want to find out about it, so they're going to turn to whichever platform. If there's news covering a drive-by, not a drive-by, a highway chase, if it's on TV, people tune in and they want to, they're glued to their television sets. That has been, replaced by the internet. Where do you go when crazy shit happens? Facebook really did that well. What Mark Zuckerberg probably underestimated was that advertisers run for the hills. They don't want to associate with, oh my God, there's somebody holding a gun to their head. It's riveting. Are they going to blow their brains out? Well, guess what? Sponsors.
Brought to you by Tide.
Yeah, brought to you by NRA. But Tide wouldn't want to associate with that. Right? So fundamentally, I think Facebook, again, like everything else, did that too well, where they kind of early on got a lot of time spent and mind share around live, but they realized it doesn't monetize well. Facebook also kind of gave away, like, your self-respecting dealer, they gave away money, free money for people to produce live. And once that money stopped coming in, then those publishers stopped producing live programming. Twitter, and I think you can credit that to former CFO Anthony Noto, former Goldman guy who now left to SoFi to be their CEO. Anthony Noto really did push Twitter down towards live programming. So I think that really, really has been the kind of one unique thing that allowed Twitter to stand out. And then a lot of other content creators said, hey, there's something here, because we've always said when it comes to like search, if you want to find out what's happening right now, you don't really go to Google. You go to Twitter. So Twitter understood that they were always about what's happening right now, and then they applied that to their content strategy, which was really smart. Now, they don't have the reach that Facebook has, but it doesn't matter, because I think if they could keep executing on live, they'll just be known as like the live platform play.
But now that Anthony left, is that going to slow things down for Twitter? I mean, he's no longer there.
No,
so.
I don't think so, because I think he planted the seed, the team executed, he's got the people in place that believe in that. I mean, full disclosure, when we kind of resumed our discussions with the folks at Twitter, it was a lot of discussions around live, and then we saw that. We saw like, wow, they're really easy to get along with, and as somebody said recently in an article, they care about whether or not we succeed and whether we can make money, which, let's be honest, could not be said about Facebook. Like, that statement does not jive at all with Facebook's mindset right now. Facebook couldn't care less, and that's fine, because they're the dominant player. And that's historically been the case. The dominant player in a market generally is for closed systems. They're generally for no change, the status quo. Twitter is the challenger, so they're going to come with more solutions. But aside from Twitter, you're now seeing this. I think you've seen the shift of viewers and users from TV, print, offline to especially mobile-driven 24/7 being connected. So what you're seeing is like CBS is launching a 24/7 sports streaming service. CNN is turning Great Big Story into a 24-hour streaming network. You've seen what Cheddar's been doing. Ourselves, look at MojoTalks. MojoTalks is ultimately the seed that is going to eventually take us to kind of like a 24/7 play where, as news breaks, we're quick to discuss it.
So I'm never leaving the studio.
You're never leaving the studio. That's why you started. I've started to bring your
nice
clothes
place.
here.
I
Yeah, exactly. I hope you find it comfy. So that's the direction that we're not the only ones going, that kind of the web is going. And it makes sense, because we're always connected to the internet, whether we like it or not.
Well, the conversation is ongoing, and we just want to be part of the conversation.
There you go.
Thanks very much, Ash. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you think, and we'll talk to you next time.